Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by and checking this out. So I'm kind of reminiscing in the past and what does bicycle mean to us? It's perhaps when we were little and we learned to walk, that is like a huge achievement of freedom. We can move around and the kind of next progression after that in the modern era is riding a bicycle. That really was took it to kind of the next level just because of the speed and mobility we could get places versus walking and the balance factor and the fun factor involved in it. I can't really remember learning to ride. The first days, the falling, that memory just eludes me. I'm not sure because I was too young or whatnot, but I do remember my first bicycle. It was a Schwinn Stingray model with a banana seat, the 8 hangers, and all that. And I don't know if it was my choice or I was kind of placed in the situation, but I was introduced to quote unquote very early on BMX, where you wore like a motorcycle helmet, kind of a concert 3/4 shirt jersey, and yeah, you just raced your bike on very early motocross tracks. And the tracks were really bizarre. Like the main feature I remember were they would fill up mud puddles back behind the jumps. So, like, if you didn't clear the jump, you were hitting the mud as your consequence. I do remember that distinctly. Then, if you really wanted to modify your bike, it was funny. You went from the banana seat to like the 10-speed seat. And then the introduction from the 8 hangers to a crossbar across the top and a more kind of aggressive BMX style handlebar. And I remember that one, and the bar kept slipping, so we had to take it to a welder, and they glazed it to the stem so it wouldn't slip down, because the way that it attached at the time wasn't like super bomb proof. But throughout my life, I really can't remember a time where I didn't have a bicycle. I never really progressed in BMX or took it to the level, after that was introduced, and the, uh, the the people who were taking me there, that kind of fizzled out. So, just kept riding around the hood and this and that, riding with friends. Then BMX bikes started showing up in bicycle shops. I do remember that, and I remember getting one. It was awfully heavy, and then the technology of the wheels changed and got this crazy looking spiderweb solid wheel. Didn't have spokes. It was like this aluminum spiderweb looking wheel thing. It was pretty cool. Yeah, and then life keeps going on. Schools, other things get introduced, but always ended up having a bicycle in the background, just riding for fun, enjoyment, or just another means for transportation. There were times where I didn't have a ride, and that was the only means. Times were different back then. Way before, early adolescent years and stuff, going to friends' house across town, hop on the bike and ride 8-10 miles to their house wasn't really a big deal. Hanging out, playing all day, and riding back home before dark. But then things did kind of change after you got the driver's license, and motorized vehicles that kind of took precedent. School, and this and that. But I always seemed to have a bike in the background somehow, here or there, just to ride every now and then, just to bring that feeling back. Earlier teenage years, I got introduced to surfing, and then That was definitely present in my life for 35 years or so until I got married, had kids, and wow, that was a big game changer. But getting back to bicycle, teaching my youngins to ride bicycles, that was really cool, and that was really neat, just to kind of pass it on. So what happened after that? Well, life's twists and turns. Crazy. You know, if old saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, because life changes, things change. So that kind of brings me back to where we're at now. Here I am, 53 now. Crazy. Yeah, single, child support, all that stuff. And end up moving up here to the Pacific Northwest. And I was landlocked for about 15 years. Tried doing a little bit of biking in that time, you know, with the kiddos and this and that, but nothing to any great prevail. I was able to get back into surfing, but I quickly realized that my shoulders didn't like the prone paddling, so I got into stand-up paddleboard surfing when I was out here, which is awesome and great and beautiful. But after a year or so, I've realized that about half the time making the trek all the way out to the coast on days off, that I would either get skunked, or surfing is just it's a tough one, just because everything needs to fall into place perfectly. And I still love it and I still go with it, but then 2020 came around, the lockdown. So some surfing destination spots were cut off, the gym was cut off, a lot of things were cut off. And I do have an uncle who is, he's a few years older than I am, and avid bicyclist, but he's a roadie, which is awesome, keeps in really good health. I've always been one for the trail, and I started kind of thinking a little bit more about bicycles, going, well, what can I do around town on my days off? I got these couple hours after work, and I need to definitely get my body back in shape, using kind of food as a comfort while everything is shut down. I could rapidly see my belly getting bigger. So, what to do? So, started digging in a little bit, not too much. I probably should have done some more research, prior, but I'm one to just jump in and just go for it. So, I started looking around, and then I quickly realized that bicycles are in such a high demand right now. It's amazing. So your choices are quite limiting. And I'm not like a super big advocate of one brand or another. I've had a whole bunch of different brands my whole life, and customs are really cool, this and that, but just wanted to get out there and get something started. So, the shops that were like convenient and close by, I kind of went with them, and that ended up being Trek, which I know a lot of people don't like the big box, bicycle things, but to me it doesn't matter that much. I think they're all basically the same. And one thing I can say about the big bicycle ones, not like your Walmart brands, but the ones that actually are really into it, is that since they're big enough, they have the time and the money to do the research, and to see what's really working out there and get a lot of input. But not that the small ones or individual bike makers don't have access to that. But anyhow, so a lot has changed since I really got back into like looking at bikes, and the expense of them has dramatically gone up. Yeah. Not that there weren't expensive bikes way back in the day, but yeah, it has grown exponentially for sure. So I ended up finding a hardtail mountain bike, front suspension. It was kind of, they consider it on the lower end because it was sub like $1,000. I'm like, wow, this is lower end. And I ended up getting a place fairly close to work where I could commute to work. So I was kind of looking for a bike to do it all. And the more I looked, there's like all these different little niches and different subcategories, subgenres of bicycles nowadays. It's amazing. Every little different little aspect has some type of tweak in the geometry that is specific for such riding conditions. So I started looking into maybe a bike for commuting and a bike for, mountain biking, getting two of them because I kind of wanted to check out a full suspension bike, which I must say I had a very early on full suspension bike when they first came out. And yeah, that suspension is something really to get used to because it can buck you if you're not careful. Have it set up right. And I quickly realized that trail riding, just running around the trails like that, is a great workout. Once you have your equipment and have it dialed in, man, it's amazing. I believe you kind of get a full body workout with it. I mean, it's definitely more lower body than upper body, but your upper body is active for sure. It's good for cardio. So I did find a commuter bike. Had to order it, wait for it to come in, and it finally did come in. And it's like, man, I'm trying to be a minimalist. I don't need all these bikes. So I sold the first one that I got. And actually it sold within hours of me posting it just because of the demand right now. It blew me away. And I probably should have kept it because I really didn't know how all these were going to fare out. And the commuter bike really wasn't that much faster or more efficient. Honestly, if maybe 1 mile an hour better, but oh well. So here we go. We got the commuter bike, and it has the 700 size tires by 38, 40, something like that. So it's kind of on the quote gravel bike thing. Brand new term for me, but like, wow, okay. And actually at the moment it's in the shop. It had some rear hub issues, so it's under warranty right now. And then I started looking for a full suspension because how did I know that there was going to be a freaking awesome mountain bike trail right here close to town? A park that actually has these trails that are marked blue and green and black and got these features. And it's like, what? I've never even thought of something like this existed so close and so plentiful. And then I started researching all the other places around the state, and it's immense. It's all over the place. I'm like, wow, look at this opportunity. Instead of going out to the beach on my days off and getting burnt, man, I can just, depending on if it's just not totally gnarly weather, I can go out here and ride all these different places. Man, this is fantastic. There's another flip side to that also, and that is the inevitable crash, falling off your bike. This is definitely a reward versus risk versus reward type sport. The more risk, the more reward, maybe? But as I'm sitting here talking to you guys, yes, I'm still healing from a couple of crashes I had on the mountain bike, the full suspension. The hydraulic disc brakes, man, they work really good. The suspension that gets thrown off. On this park that I'm showing you right here, there was a couple of jump situations where I had this, trying to build up confidence. When I was younger, I would fly off jumps and wreck and not think about it, at all. And bunny hops, when I learned, were definitely the wrong technique because there was nobody to show you the right technique. And so I just kind of still have that probably wrong technique ingrained, but I'm trying to learn. My popping up skills are definitely not as prevalent as when I was younger, so I need to learn how to do those. Jump off the bike, lean way back. I feel like I'm gotta relearn how to ride a bike, especially the full suspension one, because there's the preload aspect, all these different aspects that are new, and this slack geometry that one blows me away more than anything, just because when you're just riding flat, just to kind of sit up a little bit and stretch out, let go of the handlebars, and you're able to control the bike. But the slack geometry, you try to do that, or at least for me anyhow, man, that thing starts wheelbarrowing like crazy and getting away from me. And I can see the advantage of going downhill where having that way out in front of you is definitely going to save you from going over the bars. I mean, yes. But steering and driving is kind of new. But that all aside, yeah, the preloading on jumps and how to hit it, and especially for my weight. When I was loaded down, I went to the suspension calculator, just like, okay, we'll dial this in, and 1 pound lighter, it gave me some specs to go by. 1 pound over, it told me to see the manufacturer. So am I like on the threshold of the shock? Maybe I need to call them up and see what's up. But anyhow, yeah, there's tons of videos. It's like, right here is where you compress, you lean back. So I had all these things in my mind as I'm approaching this jump, which I've cleared before, but I did take a shot, and I'm like way back. I'm letting the bike just kind of roll over it, and I was clearing it, but not really, jumping. Should jumping even be a thing in my mind right now, or just getting out and enjoying the trails? But nevertheless, there's going to be technical sections. There are going to be jumps, are going to be jumps. I do want to learn how to master this. Like, there's all the sports I've ever been in, even surfing was like to reach a level of mastery, but you'll never master it 100%. There's been some people who are really good, yet they can still get better. Those are the sports that I've always been into. As a young kid, I was only involved in a very short time in team sports, and that was not really my thing, to rely on other human beings. And I've learned that relying on other human beings, supposedly even the ones you love and had families with, just turn around and, well, it doesn't work out. Yeah, here's the spot where I crashed before with my brakes just seized up right there. I'm not sure what happened. If I was going a little fast and I grabbed my front brakes and back brakes, which when I first got into this sport, I was braking with both front and back, but the front brake just started seizing up, and I remember it seizing up 3 times really fast, and over the bars I went. But back to like solo sports, those sports to me, you rely on yourself. And if something goes wrong, you could only blame yourself. And I kind of like that. I don't like being vulnerable to blaming others, you get such a better sense of satisfaction, or I do anyhow, for achievement when it's you and only you doing the achievement. Self accountability. For some strange reason, those are the sports I've been drawn to. Be it hiking or bicycling or paddleboarding, anything that's just you versus the element, you versus nature. And it's not really a versus, I shouldn't say that. It's more you in that element. So you in nature, dealing with the elements. Where my body honestly feels really comfortable just because of the time I spent in the ocean, the way it moves, the way you read it, and all that. And this is hard dirt with rocks and stuff. But what's been really intriguing to me are lines. Sports that you draw lines, snowboarding, like surfing. It's all about reading the territory in front of you and drawing that line, being an art form. I like it. I like being in the zone and being focused and seeing that and having to calculate all that. I think it's healthy. It's healthy for the mind. It's healthy for the body when it's really connecting all together. So now being at one with the equipment is another aspect. So we're coming up on a jump right here. And early on, man, I'd jump this thing 20, 30 times fine. And then the time I was like watching videos on how to jump properly, I was trying the technique. So you have this little roller right here. You get some speed. You have this little guy. You can pop a little bit. And I've cleared this one before. And it's this one right here. Yeah, I came upon this one. They have it shut down right now, and jumped and ended up hurting my ribs and crashing pretty good. Yeah, right there. See, that's how I was jumping, just letting the bike going really slow and getting way back, and I wasn't extended to hold the landing down. Like I could clear it before, but what's really bizarre is now my apprehension, of hitting that now. And then maybe getting all the protective gear. We're so protective nowadays. The helmet, the elbow pads, which is good, but the actual day I wrecked, I did have a bunch on and still kind of got hurt. But to get over that at my age and then to keep carrying on and hit it again and progress, I'm going to need to do it. And I've never been one to actually get any lessons or had lessons in basically anything. But I wouldn't be opposed to my day and age, get professionals with this new equipment and seeing what they see, seeing how I could tweak and try to do the old dog new tricks type scenario and to get better and progress. Another aspect of bicycling, which I'm super intrigued in, is this bikepacking thing. People have been doing that for hundreds of years, or 100 years at least. I just found an old post of the late 1800s, 1896 or something like that. That was a part of the military where these cats were on bicycles and they actually had they weren't bags, they were frame boxes and handlebar bags. And they were going, pedaling in Montana to Yellowstone. And the military was looking into bicycles as a viable sense of transportation. And even today, I think they still have them. I know there's some folding mountain bikes that the Air Force used a little bit. So, yeah, bikepacking seems really, really intriguing to me. As last couple of hikes I went on, the descents were really hurting my knees with all that weight, and maybe it was from some acid buildup or something, but I really enjoy hiking and being out there. But if I can do it on a bicycle and it's easier on my joints and body and still make it on there, sure, it's going to be a cardio for the muscles, but if my joints are not hurting, especially on the descents, where I can ride down the descents and get the cardio and use my muscles on the going up, man, it's almost kind of like a win-win. Plus you get there a little bit faster. There's a couple of rides I've been checking out going, wow. The Oregon Timber Trail looks amazing, but the difficulty is super gnarly, but maybe something to work for someday. There's another trail called the XWA, which is basically a mountain bike trail going across the state of Washington that looks amazing, and it's a little bit easier and a little bit shorter. But before taking those big bites, man, just to spend hours in the saddle is, pedaling, to see what that's actually like, to see what hurts, to see what works right. There is a gear aspect to it, which neither good nor bad, but I think a lot of people who are in the same genre are kind of into the whole gear thing, and gear has taken definitely a new twist in modern technology and the science. There's a lot of really cool lightweight stuff, a lot of ingenuity goes beyond there. But along with that, unfortunately, it kind of seems with all of that, there's still kind of a planned obsolescence. It's unfortunately that manufacturers put that in there so that they can remain in business. We're going to make this product and it's going to last 2 years and then fail, so you have to come back. They're going to get you hooked on it, but you're going to have to buy another one down the road, where it wouldn't take that much more to make one that lasted a whole lot longer. But I'm sure there's some products out there like that also, but it can get overwhelming, doing that. I think the main thing is just to get out and do it. Get out and just do it. But to learn the bike, I really would be into getting some lessons. I would not be opposed to not getting some professional help. But I started looking into that, and it's not cheap, man. $400 for a lesson or something. It's like, wow, it's up there. But probably cheaper than going to the hospital because you didn't know you're doing something wrong, which could have been prevented. And doing bike packing, I believe that the skills of mountain biking and off-road riding are definitely essential. You're going to do a lot of in the saddle, a lot of endurance, which I need to work on also, but also work on the skills of off-road riding, because you're not only going to be off-road riding, and off-road riding with yourself, with a bunch of gear strapped on, make sure it's on there safe. And I think it's totally a cool way to adventure. I think another viable aspect for all of this is just knowing your boundaries. There's a social media effect where you get all amped and excited and seeing these guys shred and do these incredible things and all these happy trips, and people are excited. But you really need to come back to reality and know what your own personal limits are. Yeah, there's a good way to exceed and grow a little bit, but be okay with where you're at and with little bits of growth here and there. But anyhow, guys, thanks for coming in and watching. I really appreciate it. And if you've got any comments or suggestions, leave them down below. And until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks for hanging out.